On a plain in Assyria, two kings prepared for the battle that would decide an empire. One of them, Darius III of Persia, had chosen the ground himself. He had the field flattened for chariots, cavalry spread across a wide front, and enough troops to make the horizon look crowded. The other king was 25 years old Alexander, deep inside enemy territory, and had made a career out of walking straight towards problems that should have killed him. To understand how he ended up here, you have to go back 3 years. In 374 BCE, Alexander crossed from Europe into Asia and invaded the Persian Empire. He inherited the project from his father, Philip II, but the scale of what followed belonged to him. And his first great test came almost immediately, at a river in northwestern Asia Minor called the Granseus. The Persian satraps of Western Asia Minor, together with the Greek mercenary commander Memnon of Rhodes, took up a defensive position near the river. It was a smart choice. If Alexander wanted to push south into reach coastal cities, he first had to deal with an enemy sitting on his flank and threatening his communications. Here, the sources began arguing. Arrian and Plutarch describe Alexander forcing the crossing directly. Diodorus, on the other hand, preserves a version that looks more like a dawn attack after crossing in darkness. What they do agree on is the most important part. Alexander attacked. The fighting was chaotic. If we wait until dawn, we cross in better order. If we wait, Persia learns we can be delayed. That recklessness almost ended the campaign before it had really begun. In the fighting, Alexander was attacked by Persian nobles and survived only because Cletus cut down the men about to strike him from behind. But once the Persian cavalry line broke, the battle turned. The Greek mercenaries in Persian service were overwhelmed, and Alexander won his first great victory on Asian soil. Darius III gathered a far larger royal army and marched north from Babylon. Then, in one of the campaign's great reversals, he slipped behind Alexander through the mountain passes and appeared in his rear. On paper, this looked terrifying. In practice, Darius had made a disastrous choice. He had followed Alexander into a narrow coastal strip near Issus, squeezed between mountains. Majesty, this plain is smaller than expected. Then we will be memorable. Alexander placed himself on the right with the companion cavalry. Parmenion held the left. This battle wasn't easy. Parmenion's wing was under real strain, but Alexander found the decision point first. He charged hard on the right, smashed through the Persian left and drove toward the center where Darius stood. And when the battle ended, Alexander had not only won, he had captured Darius' mother, wife, and children. If Alexander had stopped after Issus, Persia would still have had one huge advantage: the sea. The Persian fleet depended heavily on Phoenician ports. Most of those ports submitted. Tyre did not. And Tyre was a nightmare target. The main city stood on an island some distance offshore, protected by high walls and defended from the sea. Alexander could not simply ride at it and solve the problem with cavalry. So he did something far more annoying. He built a road to it. He's building a road to an island. That seems illegal. After roughly 7 months, Alexander's forces broke in. The city fell. Fall of the city was followed by massacre and slavery on huge scale. And now we return to the battlefield from the beginning. After Issus and Tyre and Egypt, Alexander marched back toward the heart of Persian Empire. Darius still had resources, cavalry, and room to rebuild. Near Gaugamela, he chose the ground carefully. This time there will be no riverbank, no mountain squeeze, and no island wall to hide behind. Just open space. The kind of space in which a larger army should finally be able to do what Persia had wanted from the beginning. Stretch wide, right around the Macedonians and crush them. This is the battle he always wanted. Then let us be disappointing. Darius had prepared well. His cavalry was strong, and he even had elephants present. But he had also chosen to stand and wait. That gave Alexander room to study the field and shape the fight. When the battle came, Alexander did not simply charge straight ahead. He edged right, pulling the Persian line outward and creating strain in its formation. Darius had to extend, respond, and commit. Then came the decisive move. Seeing a gap, or at least weak point opening toward the Persian center, Alexander turned inward with his cavalry and struck directly toward Darius. The phalanx pressed forward. The whole attack converged on the royal position. On the Macedonians' left, things were far less tidy. Parmenion was under severe pressure. Even so, the result was decisive. Darius fled again. This time, Imperial Center did not recover. Babylon and Susa opened. Persepolis would follow, and Persia as a field empire had effectively been broken.